everyone, Mama Mikey here, and I just want to do a quick video about my impressions of I Am Setsuna for the PS4. I am very close to beating this game. I am finally at the last boss. There are 3 major bosses in this game, and I'm finally at the last one. I wanted to do the impressions video now so that people could have it in time for either before Christmas, depending on how much time I have to edit and get everything set up, or after Christmas. So if you got gift cards to the Sony store, maybe you were thinking about this game, maybe I could help you decide on whether or not you'd like to get it or not. So starting off, the story of this game is fantastic. So far it has been very deep and engaging. The story is quite sad at times, and I do truly enjoy that. I do love a good sad story. But it's full of hope, and at some points the game feels truly hopeless. You are Setsuna, you are on a mission to sacrifice yourself for the greater good. And it's a very sad experience at first, and there literally is just no hope. Your entire mission is to deliver Setsuna to the sacrificial rites grounds where she will give her life for the good of the world. And so it's very sad, and throughout the game though you realize just how hopeful Setsuna is, that what she's doing truly will help others, and that's what motivates you the whole way, is that you're doing something for the good of everyone in the whole world, that one life might be lost but it's for everyone. And so it's very sad because the more you learn about Setsuna, and in the beginning of the game you can talk to everyone in her village and they're so upset, they're so unhappy that she was chosen to be the sacrifice because she's just a genuinely nice person and very sweet and good. And the battle system in this game is very exciting, very engaging. I really love how they set up the battle system. Aspects of it remind me of Child of Light, where you sort of have a timeline, but each character has a timeline so you can see how close they are to having their next turn. Versus Child of Light having everyone on the same timeline, and you can kind of see if you're ahead of the enemies or not. In I Am Setsuna, you can't tell how close the enemies are to attacking, but you can see your own timeline for each character of your party, who's going to have that next opportunity in the battle. So it's really fun. I do truly enjoy the gameplay and the battle system. This is an extremely deep game. There are multiple aspects of crafting and such. First off, there are recipes, and the #1 advice is do not sell a single item of food that you pick up. The way that this game works is that in order to obtain a recipe, you have to have the ingredients on hand. Instead of getting the recipe and then looking for the ingredients later, you won't get the recipe unless you have all the ingredients with you. I made the mistake of selling some ingredients because I misunderstood how important cooking was, and I thought it would be easy to get the ingredients again. I didn't realize how difficult it was though to find some of these items a second time. And the way that cooking works is that you get the recipe, and you can go to a chef in any town, give them the recipe, and you don't have to have the items with you for them to make the recipe. You pay them to make the recipe from their own stock of ingredients basically, and then you have it. And the cooking is quite important. There's different recipes that will increase your XP, increase your critical hit rate, so you definitely would want to eat that before a boss battle or a mini boss, let's say. There's ones that'll increase the special item drop, so if there's something you've been really looking for crafting, then you might want to use that. There's ones that'll increase your magic points, and that's really important. If you're in a long battle, you definitely want to have more magic without having to use items and wasting a turn on it. So there's a lot of strategy involved in getting these recipes and using them effectively, and it's something I didn't grasp right away. In I Am Setsuna, there aren't a lot of tutorials so much as there are. They tell you all the information and you can access it at almost any time, but it's just a lot of reading. And I tried to read it and retain all the information, but I had to keep going back and referencing it. And because there wasn't a tutorial that you play through, and it was just reading everything, it was a lot harder for me to grasp. Instead of learning it through doing it, you have to learn it through reading 3 pages on your TV screen. And it's quite a lot to each aspect of crafting and everything that's included in this game. Even upgrading your weapons. In order to upgrade your weapons, you have to find special materials from chests, and so you might not find a lot of those until later on in the game. And then it's a question of, you have to do a lot of research to decide, do you want to upgrade this weapon? Because you can't do it willy-nilly. You don't want to just upgrade a weapon and then realized later that, well, I literally have no more upgrade tools available in the whole world. I've opened every single chest and there is no more to be found. It's a very finite number of resources in this game for upgrading your weapons, so you need to use them efficiently. The weapons that you get are really cool and there's a lot of variety. Each weapon has a really distinctive look to it, and for some characters it's a lot more prominent. Setsuna's weapon, it's actually a hairpiece that she wears, and so each time you change the weapon it dramatically changes her look, and I think that's really awesome. And for Endir, there are a lot of his swords have different effects, maybe like a flame or a smoky effect, type look to it. So as you're walking around, you'll notice that behind him, and it's really, really cool. And there's other characters as well. One character always has a broadsword, and so all of the weapons you find for him are just giant, and they're really cool, and they really change up his look. And obtaining new abilities is a whole new aspect of another reason why you don't want to sell items willy-nilly, because if you lose a certain item, it might be a very rare drop, and you need that item to obtain a new ability. You basically go to a store, and you have to sell the items required for, the recipe, let's say, for that ability. And so you sell the items to the man first, and then he will craft the skill for you, and then you equip the skill to your character. And that's a whole nother aspect of, you can't just sell things, without really looking into it and deciding whether or not you need it, or maybe only sell half of the items if you really need the money. Unfortunately, this is a game where enemies don't drop money, so the only way to get money is to sell things, and then we're back to square one of, but you might need that item later on. The safe thing to do is to just sell items that you have a large quantity of, and maybe just sell a quarter or sell a half of your quantity so that you still have some, but don't ever sell all of an item because you will regret it later. Talking about gameplay and the battle mechanics, the enemies in this game have a lot of variety. Unfortunately, a lot of them to me look really cute, and then I really don't like destroying them because they just are so adorable. Some of them are just these really cute little forest animals, and then you just have to slay them, and it's very sad. But some of them are truly just scary and really cool looking, and those are a lot of fun to fight. There are certain monsters in the game that are sort of like mini bosses. You come across them and they tell you that these are, a very high tier of monster that you can face, and they can give you really awesome items. And so those are really fun to go against. I really enjoy finding those, and I definitely want to find a guide and find all of them in the world because they're a really fun challenge. Some of them are really difficult even at higher levels of the game, and you just have to have a lot of strategy to face them. In the same line of talking about boss fights, one of my cons for I Am Setsuna is that there isn't a quick retry if you lose a fight. In most modern RPGs, if you lose a fight, you can either choose retry or load your last save or back to the main menu. In I Am Setsuna, there's no option. It just brings you right back to the main menu, you select your latest save, and then you have to go back to fight the boss. That could mean fighting an entire dungeon all over again if there wasn't a save point before the boss. It could mean going through the entire cutscene all over again because you can't skip cutscenes in this game. A lot of parts of this game have a very old school feel, and it's a good thing. But that aspect of it, for me personally, as someone who doesn't have a lot of time to play games, as someone who is both a college student and working part-time, having to replay the cutscenes every time I want to try the boss fight, it takes a lot of time. And just not having a quick retry button, it really does eat up a lot more time, and maybe if it had that retry button, I could probably try the boss fight many more times within the same time period as it takes me to have to redo the cutscenes or to redo just walking up, a long corridor to get to the boss. Another aspect of this game that is just a very slight con is that throughout this entire game, I didn't skip any fights. I explored the world heavily. I saw almost everything that you could see. I did all of the extra fights and everything, and when I got up to the first boss of the 3 main bosses, I was way under-leveled. And that kind of bummed me out because I didn't skip any fights. I explored extra, so I maybe fought more fights than you would if you just continued with the story and didn't explore as much. And so it was kind of disheartening. You have to just go and grind for a few hours, fight some enemies, go back, you beat the boss. But then you get up to the second main boss, many hours later, and it's the same thing. I'm severely underleveled, even though I've been doing extra fights, extra exploring, and it was just one of those things. I thought I was setting myself up for these boss fights to do well, but I was still very underleveled each time, and almost like the game was designed that you'll get to this point and you just can't be that high leveled unless you know it's coming in advance and you do just go into the woods and fight enemies for hours. I definitely want to say that it is not a bad thing that this is a long game. It is only a little bit frustrating because it's an artificially long game. This game isn't long because it has an enormous story. If I was playing Persona, I would expect it to have an 80-hour campaign, and I would expect it to be a very long game. But this game just feels like it's artificially too long. It feels like the game isn't long because of the story, but it's long because it was designed to be that way. So that's why I said that this is a con. It is definitely not a con to have a long game, but when a game is artificially long, when a game is designed to be longer, simply to be longer. It's not that it takes more time for the story. The story of this game really could have been wrapped up much sooner if the gameplay didn't take so long, if you didn't need 6 hours of just leveling up, and it almost takes you away from the story because you might even forget what's going on in the 6 hours that you're just running around fighting enemies. What was the last thing that you did? What was the mission that you were on? It can be really easy to get sidetracked and to sort of even stop caring about the story because you've been away from it for 6 hours. But moving on to something positive is the look of this game. It is cold and snowy. This game literally makes you want to get a cup of hot cocoa because it will make you feel colder. It is a perfect game for this time of year where it's very cold and snowy out, and it just goes right along with the winter season. All of the different levels that you face are varying degrees of snowy. There's some levels that have a blizzard and it's actually harder to see, and I think that's a really cool game mechanic. And just everywhere you go, you're just leaving little snow drifts and little just trails in the snow. It's really fun and festive, and it's just a really cute game in that regard. The world and the character design is beautiful. When you step into someone's home out of the cold and it actually feels warm and cozy inside, there's just nothing like this game in terms of the appearance and just the feeling that it gives you. This game is remarkable in how it looks. Overall, I am very happy with I Am Setsuna. This is a game that I was really eager to play. When it was announced, I just wanted more and more information about it, and I'm very happy now to be playing it and to be very close to beating it. My only cons for this game are just how time consuming it is because of how the game was designed. Because there's no retry when you fail at a boss, and just because every time you get to a boss it feels like you're 15 levels too low and you just have to go and grind more. And even if you're preemptive and you know that you'll have to grind, it still will be hours and hours of time not progressing the story just to get your level higher. And that's all game design, and as much as I love this game, I wish it wasn't designed in such a way because it is incredibly time consuming. So those are my quick impressions of I Am Setsuna. Overall, very positive. I really truly do enjoy this game. But let me know in the comments below if you've played this game or if you're planning on getting it yourself. Like, comment, subscribe if you want to see more, and I'll see you next time. Bye!